Awesome. We are officially live here on LinkedIn Live. I have Sereyna, Michelle, Stephenie, and I'm Matt from RiseKit. We'll start in about 30 seconds because we're already almost a minute in here. We don't want to keep anyone waiting, but we're really excited for everybody to hop on. We had about 90 people sign up. I think officially 90. The goal was 100. We missed it, but we'll count 90 as a big win. I think the apprenticeship week has been one of the best, I think buzzes on LinkedIn of all our months that we've seen. So I think this is gonna be a great conversation. I knew apprenticeships were big, but I know LinkedIn, I think, made it really go viral and everyone's work. I saw Empowered, a bunch of things happen in UPro and Southwest. So really excited for this conversation. To kick this all off, since we're a minute in, I am Matt Strauss. I'm the founder of RiseKit. We help companies and corporations source untapped talent through community organizations through our software called RiseKit. We make it really easy with integrations and applicant tracking systems, community onboarding sessions, and a bunch more. Today, we're here to talk about apprenticeships, though, through our RiseKit Inclusion Network. Our Inclusion Network is a channel partner program where we've built a lot of relationships with UKG and so many others out there that have basically said, hey, this is a really innovative technology. We want to partner with you all to refer partners back and forth. And so today, with our Inclusion Network, we always try to, bring on thought leaders because the inclusion work is really challenging work at times. And we got to be able to hear the best in the world, the best in our country, talk about these things. And we try to theme it around, what's happening in that month or in the last few months. So today, it's about apprenticeships, all things apprenticeships. And I'm here with Sereyna, Michelle, and Stephenie. So we're going to start off with a quick round of introductions, and then we'll get right into our questions. And then we'll have some open for the audience to ask Q&A, and we'll go from there. So I'll start off with Sereyna. You want to do an introduction, and we'll go to Michelle and Stephenie after.
Yes, thanks so much, Matt, and thanks to RiseKit for having me on the panel with such esteemed panelists. I'm Sereyna Wallace, the Senior Director for National Placement, leading our strategy and engagement of the Career Pathway Initiatives for a national nonprofit organization entitled Empower, where we are one of the leaders to provide the bridge to skills gap by providing economic mobility as well as prosperity to young adults ages 18 through 25, military veterans, as well as military connected. And it's a pleasure to be a part of today's discussion.
And Michelle?
Yeah, thank you. And agree with Sereyna. So glad to be here. Thank you so much. Wonderful panelists. I'm Michelle Thims. I'm the CEO of UPro Placement. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of the nonprofit organization Year Up. And we are the staffing arm of that nonprofit organization that continues the careers of the wonderful young adults going through the Year Up program. And we place that talent in contract and apprenticeship programs. And that's why we're here today to talk about the great apprenticeship programs that all of our talent. And we also partner with Empower and 30 other nonprofit organizations to place their amazing talent with Fortune 500 organizations across the country in apprenticeship programs. So happy to be here.
And Stephenie.
Hi, my name is Stephenie Munson, and I lead the Pipelines and Programs group within talent acquisition for Southwest Airlines. And so that entails the K through early careers, so kindergarten through early career pipeline, as well as our interns, our pilot pathways, military hiring, you name it, any pipeline that we can take advantage of for the future of Southwest Airlines. And while we don't have official apprenticeship programs, we do have internships. We have work study programs, job shadow, virtual job previews, and many other things. So it kind of fits in line with what we're going to talk about today. So thank you for having me.
Excited to have all of you. This is exciting. So today we're going to start off with just some questions just to get the convo going. If any of you that are in the audience have questions, feel free to chat them. and then we will start to prioritize them for the last 20 or 15 minutes of our conversation to open up to the audience. So our first question, start off with Michelle. How do you align your apprenticeship programs with the long-term strategic goals of an organization? When and why should apprenticeships be viewed as a solution for employers? For Michelle first.
Well, certainly biased on all accounts of apprenticeships being part of the strategic plan. But overall, I think what we're used to seeing is long-term strategic plans include financial metrics and big goals and sales strategies. And, sometimes what we miss is this huge strategic HR and talent acquisition component of succession planning from the ground up. So we tend to think of succession planning for the top tier of an organization, and how we partner with organizations is to say, from a succession planning, if you're not starting from the ground up and kind of flipping that organizational chart, and really looking at part of the strategy of you getting to those financial goals is how the people that work in your organization are going to get you there. And with some of the talent shortages we hear about and the skills gaps we hear about, apprenticeship programs built into that long-term strategic plan and succession planning from the ground up allows organizations to also build skills strategy plans. So what are the skills the workforce is going to need to get you to your 1, your 3, your 5-year goals, and even your 10-year goals? If you're not working backwards on all of the skills needed in your workforce to get there, then you're missing a piece of that and could probably miss those goals. But when you build in skills as part of the strategy, then you have the opportunity to actually build training programs that are customizable to the skills that you need to get you there. And so, it can be a tough sell is to really build in that apprenticeship mindset of on-the-job learning and on-the-job training. But we believe that it's crucial to hit your strategic goals, both short-term and long-term.
Well said. Stephenie, and you?
Yeah, so Southwest, what we do is we look at internal and external labor market needs, right? And then we identify what is the strategic hiring and pipelining priority. From there, we use that data to then create the program and develop that strategy and the business case in order to get funding for those types of programs. So one of the ones that we have today is the Associate Operations Analyst Rotational Program. So what we did is we noticed a need or a trend, if you will, for analysts in the operational departments. And so the program was created to take individuals interested in operational analyst roles and have projects to rotate them on, so they gain that experience and that knowledge and that real world scenario type environment. And then they are able to come out as an analyst and support multiple areas of our business. So I think it's really defining and looking forward, as Michelle kind of talked about. We're looking toward the future, and that's really what my group does. When you think about creating those pipelines, we're not necessarily talking today, we're talking long term. And so being able to get ahead of those is key.
Yeah, I've really noticed how much Southwest invests in their employees, not only on the airplanes, but really across, getting to know you all pretty well. It's been really impressive. And so, Sereyna, I'm going to add a new question in here, and feel free to expand on that first one. In what ways have you collaborated with other organizations, training providers, or educational institutions to enhance your apprenticeship programs? So it's more like the tactical, but like the what? Yeah.
Sure. If I can answer that and link it to the previous question as well. Empower uses more of a multi-pronged approach, and we do start it with our own 3.0 strategic plan. So our strategic plan is inclusive of 4 different pillars. So we are looking at starting to look at all of the career pathways that we offer our talent and also our employer partners in the market. And we're looking at seamless transitions, expanding learning pathways, advancing the systems, and what does it look like when we scale and remain agile and sustainable? What we've also learned to do with apprenticeships is expanding our partnerships so that the ecosystem is all inclusive. One of the ways that we're able to do that is work very closely in most of our operating markets. And we've started to form articulation agreements with our higher education institutions. So that way they're getting brand exposure to empower college students that are looking for more practical ways to grow that theoretical framework they learn in the classroom and come through our program to get more of a hands-on approach to technology. And then paired with one of our employer partners, we're able to really expand their palette, their body of work, and share the opportunities for apprenticeships. Likewise, the trainees that go through the articulation agreements of these colleges, they also get to go in with some credits just from going through the Empower training program in tech fundamentals, cybersecurity, or cloud computing, and next year soon to be software development. So I think that's been one of the most innovative ways to grow our ecosystem of partners through higher education institutions.
Makes sense. And I've recently gotten to see Empower and learn about Empower from our colleagues here at RiseKit. And it's impressive how robust your apprenticeship model is and how detailed it is. It takes a lot of hours and perfection to get to where you all are. So I'm going to go to this question. Can you share examples of how apprenticeship programs have been integrated into your broader employee development and upskilling initiatives within your own organization? And Stephenie, we'll have you go first there.
Okay. So our internal employees can join our Tech Ops apprenticeship program, and they receive on-the-job training to become an aviation maintenance tech at Southwest. We have the JTAP program, which the Junior Technology Apprentice program, which allows them to build their leadership skills by becoming a mentor or a coach to new hires. So one of the things about Southwest and particularly our talent acquisition team or our people department is also supported by a senior vice president who also supports the Southwest Airlines University and our training, leadership, and development group. And so having that togetherness, there's a lot of partnerships and sharing across the organization. Because as a company, you all know we're committed to developing diverse talent for our leadership roles at Southwest and for all our roles, but giving them an opportunity to connect and coach and get feedback. It also prepares them for the next step in their career, whatever that may be. We also have a career mobility team that is dedicated to meeting with our employees and identifying and helping them kind of navigate what does their career look like? What do I need to do? What are the skills that I bring to the table? Where are we possibly missing? And what opportunities are out there for me to fill in those gaps? So I think, we take a holistic approach to it by looking at just the broader development, and there's multi-layers of development, whether it's from the employee or the leaders, and at all levels.
That makes sense. And then I'm going to go back to Sereyna, and then Michelle, we're going to ask you a tough one. Sereyna, just can you expand on that? Can you share some examples of how your apprenticeship programs have been integrated into your broader employee development upskilling initiatives within your own organization at Empower?
Sure, I'd love to. Empower has another branch entitled the National Instructors Institute, and it's led by our CIO, Robert Vaughn. And the National Instructors Institute is really where we centralize our teaching talent. So all of our lead technical instructors that run our programs and are great educators there. In each of the classes, we have lead technical instructors, and we also have assistant technical instructors. What we thought about very methodically is, why don't we challenge ourselves by integrating apprenticeships within our own hiring model? And what we are so proud about is we're able to now have our graduating alumni apply for the assistant technical instructor apprenticeship opportunities. It gives them an opportunity to earn as they learn, to be effective technical instructors. We align those technical competencies to our Department of Labor standards. And more importantly, our lead technical instructors are a part of that mentorship program. They're helping to groom them, making sure that their professional development is strengthened so that before we convert them on the back end, we want to ensure that they're a strong resource and that they're gaining all the skill sets needed as a strong apprentice. So that's one of the ways that we were able to integrate apprenticeships within our own employee hiring model.
Not only do you make apprentices, come get full-time jobs, you also do it internally. It's pretty amazing. And Michelle, I told you have a tough one. So, it's not always beautiful apprenticeships, right? It takes some mistakes, some mishaps, some challenges. So here's a tough one for you, Michelle. What are the common challenges you've encountered in implementing apprenticeship programs, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, it is everything's messy, right? New adoption of ideas is messy. And I think apprenticeships is no exception. And the adoption is slow, but the awareness and the interest is on the rise. And National Apprenticeship Week, I've even seen massive traction in the past 4 days. So it's pretty incredible what the Department of Labor has pulled together in such a short time with American. The overall ambassador program is amazing. But I will tell you from adoption, what we hear from employers is the lack of flexibility in the Department of Labor program, right? It's rigid. You get the curriculum registered, and it's 12 to 15 to 18 months, and there's specific pay steps. And all of those pieces are there for a reason, because we are trying to make a difference and a social impact in building in career and economic mobility for folks all over the country. And so what we've done at UPro Placement is said, all right, we need to meet employers where they are. And if they're struggling with a longer term program, they're struggling with how to put in on the job training, and have folks not necessarily be ready on day one because they say, like, we just need talent. Like, we've got to fill these jobs right now. Like, what can we do? Well, with a skills gap, right, from a digital skills perspective, there is not enough talent in the marketplace that have all of the digital skills that employers are demanding on day one. And so while we're also saying, you need to build in apprenticeships, we've built a very flexible model that bridges the employer adoption from informal earn and learn programs and helps them on a journey to a registered apprenticeship program. So we've designed a program called Skills to Staff, and it bridges that gap as an informal earn and learn program and helps the employer adopt in a small set cohort setting. We help from an all-inclusive perspective, building in upskilling pathways, providing benefits to talent, providing coaching, providing mentorship, providing wraparound supports. All of that to say, like, these are all of the things that we know and we've learned help apprenticeships and help apprentices on their journey to career and economic mobility. And so we're excited that we've built something that meet employers where they are, so that we can continue to adopt and infuse why apprenticeships are so important. Again, from that succession planning and flipping the organization upside down and really building it from the ground up. So I think from an overcoming some of the challenges perspective, building in flexibility, building in support, getting a champion is also another barrier. Like, who is the champion in the organization? Like, Stephenie has an entire support system at Southwest, and I'm sure that didn't happen overnight. There had to be a champion that said, we're doing this, we're making this happen, and it is part of the long-term goal.
Great answer. And for those of you that don't follow you, Pro or Michelle, yet, I've been following her for a few years now on LinkedIn. It's always a good way just to stay up to speed about what's happening in the apprenticeship world and in the nonprofit world and jobs world. So make sure you follow Michelle as well as everybody here, Sereyna and Stephenie. Stephenie, anything you want to add to that question, or what's this agreement?
Well, and I think Michelle brought up many of the common challenges that we encounter. I think the big one nowadays is the financial piece of it, right? And so it's tough to get that buy-in, especially if folks don't see the end goal or don't truly know that their return on that investment isn't going to happen anytime soon. It's going to be a longer term type ROI, and I think that's difficult oftentimes to get companies to buy into. And so, for example, on our junior associate program, we begin with the end in mind, meaning what is our goal? Where do we want to be as a company? And how does that align with getting us there? And so we identify all of those things. And then once that goal is established, then we kind of put that forward. If you want to accomplish this goal as a company, here are the things that we need to do in order to get us there. And so when you think about even our JTAP program, like we don't necessarily, we don't know that all the hires will be at the skill level that we're expecting, right? Because that's a part of these types of programs, is to help them continue to develop their skills and grow and learn. But I think, you've got to start somewhere. And so allowing them those opportunities to start and then test it out. So, maybe we're going to do a beta test or a pilot test and kind of show what they can get from that and then kind of grow it from there. We have many leaders that now have boot camps or other things that we've set up and established or encourage folks to go to in order to minimize that skill gap, but also just trying to show the result a little bit faster, because for us, I think the financial piece always becomes the biggest question.
That makes sense. I almost picture like a loyalty program of points, like you have a Southwest credit card and cash in some flights, but for upskilling. So that's pretty cool. And so my next question, not to make a perfect transition here or anything, but how do you leverage technology and digital tools to enhance the effectiveness of your apprenticeship training? So yeah, really focus on technology for Sereyna here. How do you leverage technology and digital tools to enhance the effectiveness of your apprenticeship training?
Sure. We leverage technology really right after enrollment. Before they start our program, we want to assess where are they with technology and are there any needs that will serve as barriers? And so even if it's just starting off with the basic devices, we provide laptops, we provide the hotspots to ensure that they're starting this technical journey of learning, and then employment support. We want to make sure that that journey starts off successfully. So we're providing the leverage of our resources by ensuring they have those technologies and capabilities before they start the training. Likewise, our training curricula is really, really robust, and we understand that, but because it is an instructor online led program for the teaching, we also make sure that our training is infused with a variety of digital tools. So whether it is virtual simulations or video communications or anything like the virtual mock interviews and things of that sort that utilizes automated systems, we want to introduce them to a myriad of digital tools and capabilities, not only to enhance their marketability in the workforce, but really to ensure that they're well-rounded, right? That they have those hard skills from the technical training, they have the technology and devices that they need to be successful. And it's then complemented with the digital tools that we provide exposure to and the soft skill training to ensure the professional development is the cherry on top for them.
Can't go wrong with a good Sunday. Awesome. So next question, how do you ensure, and by the way, before I forget, for the audience, feel free to ask some questions in the chat. We'll be opening it up in about 15, maybe 20 minutes for everyone to ask questions. Maybe earlier, if we see some really good ones, we might squeeze them in. So we like surprises, but not too tough. Next question. How do you ensure that your apprenticeship programs are inclusive and accessible to all diverse range of individuals, including underrepresented groups? This question we'll start off as for Michelle, but since it's part of the Inclusion Network, I'm really excited to hear this answer.
Sure, absolutely. So by design, we, as part of the nonprofit organization Year Up focuses on talent from 18 to 29 years old, from underrepresented groups, historically overlooked groups, where they're providing a 12-month learning and development and internship program. So by design, the talent coming into our program certainly are from underrepresented groups, along with the 30 plus nonprofit organizations that we partner with. So we are a public benefit corporation. And what that means is we are required to have a particular charter that is mission driven, and we balance our purpose and our profit being a for-profit organization. But we only partner with partners that in nonprofit organizations and workforce development organizations and boot camps that also have an aligned mission to support underrepresented groups in building talent that truly need the support skills and may not have the opportunity to go to a four-year college. So we also focus on talent that are skilled through alternative routes. Many of you on the show probably have heard of STARS, talent skilled through alternative routes, coined by Opportunity at Work, our great partners over there. And so by design, we're ensuring that we're focused on building career and economic mobility for historically overlooked talent. And, you know, from the inclusion perspective, our programs inherently become part of DEIA initiatives so that we're supporting organizations that truly care about inclusive hiring because we are focusing on skills. So we've also heard the term skills first. And so we believe that putting inclusivity first, the result is actually diversity. And so if we're starting from a skills first approach with our talent and placing underrepresented talent in organizations, then we're creating equity in those opportunities. And then we're also infusing diversity, but that inclusion piece has to come first.
Awesome. And Stephenie?
Yeah, so I think, you know, when you look at some of the pathways that we have at Southwest, you know, some of the pilot pathways, we focus a lot on partnering with schools and universities and different programs that have not only access to underrepresented or diverse talent, but also financial options for them. Not everyone can afford to go to school to be a pilot, but hopefully through the programs that we've established with them and the relationships, we can open that up and really, you know, begin to talk to people that think, oh, I never thought I could be a pilot at Southwest, but I can go through this program and, you know, on the other end of it, I could fly for them. We also, as I said earlier, you know, we look at a lot of data to determine how do we get into those underrepresented groups in that untapped talent market. And so in 2022, we removed our high school GED requirement for the operational side of our house. So the data was showing us that we were excluding a lot of folks who didn't have a high school diploma or a GED, but needed to work. And so because we did that, we were able to open up our candidates to millions of people that that were not eligible before that. And so since that, we've hired hundreds of people without their diploma and GEDs, and we're actually working on programs today to help supplement that or allow those folks to get that so that they can then have the mobility to move within Southwest and take on other roles. So even though they came in as in the operation, they may want a headquarters-based role, or they may want to go down a different path. And so we want to give them that flexibility and that mobility. When I think about our JTAP program, we also have a program that allows total compensation so that as they're coming in the door, they're considered full-time employees. We're able to give them health benefits. We are able to give them the perks of working at Southwest in addition to that competitive salary, so that it really allows us to have that diverse talent and to open that marketplace up to be able to offer options to people that didn't think working at Southwest was an option for them. And so I'm really proud of the work that we've done in this space and continue to do, because that is truly our focus. And we always have that lens on when we're looking at hiring candidates and looking for individuals to join different programs.
Yeah, I've had some of the best experiences on Southwest flights with your staff. So I really feel like you truly embrace that. Sereyna, I have another question for you, but I want to give you a chance if you want to add anything to that. I know there's a lot was said, but it's up to you. You have anything else you want to add to this current question?
Sure. I echo the shared sentiments that Stephenie and Michelle just shared. I think the only thing that I would share as well is, outside of by our design as well, the eligibility criteria to go through Empower's technical training program is deeply rooted in inclusivity. And we are reaching out to those that are not only coming from underserved communities, but we're also targeting under-resourced community members as well, to ensure that they have the access and the opportunity to go through this tuition-free technical training program, which could result in a lot of different career pathway options, but certainly apprenticeships is not one that we want to take lightly. The other thing that I'd like to add is we're also not afraid to be the disruptive innovator in this space, which means although we are enrolling our trainees into the program with inclusivity, we're also wanting to be methodical in launching technical trainings that are inclusive as well. I briefly mentioned earlier, Matt, that we are launching in February of 2024 a software developer program in 4 different markets and states. And that is specifically going to be a women of color software development program. And we're excited about that because our goal is to reach 200 women of color that come from tech adjacent areas in the workforce already, and introduce them to intermediate and senior level IT roles within software. And I think that when we look at not only enrolling a diverse population in our program, but also creating the programs for these populations, it's definitely a double hitter, as I like to call it.
That's really amazing. Got chills hearing that. Sereyna for mayor right now. That's what I'm saying. Pretty amazing. But Sereyna, I'm going back to you on this. I had a feeling you had a good answer there. What strategies do you employ to encourage active participation and engagement from employers in the apprenticeship process?
Sure. One of the ways that we encourage the continued employer participation is by offering a myriad of volunteer engagement opportunities to them. We love for our employer partners to meet our talent before they decide to hire them. So our volunteer and engagement team are amazing at working with our corporate partners, working with their CSR teams and social impact teams to make sure that whether it's customizing a hackathon, right, or whether it is helping them to coordinate mock interviews with our talent. They're able to engage with our talent really across the nation, and it really helps to ignite the excitement to hire our apprentices when it's time for placement. And I think that's one of the most unique ways that we're able to continue that engagement prior to apprenticeship placement.
Stephenie, anything you want to add to that, or Michelle, before we go on the next one?
I would not want to follow that.
That's what I had a feeling.
No, it's impressive. Like I watch, and we partner with Empower and watch, the innovative aspects of the program, and it's impressive. And if organizations aren't partnering with Empower, my guess is because of Sereyna, they will be soon.
Thanks. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be in partnership with you as well.
We've gotten a few questions recently, so feel free to ask some questions from the audience. So feel free to just message them in. So I really appreciate it. There is a recording, so you'll be able to watch this, later on too. This is a pretty unique question here. So, how can governments and policymakers encourage the adoption of apprenticeships as a viable pathway to employment? And what policy changes might be beneficial in this regard? Have you seen any ways that governments and policymakers, whether it's state, federal, national? It's a question from the audience, actually. So curious to hear what your thoughts are.
I really appreciate this question, and this is one that we are still pressing on evolving, right? There's a lot of work to be done. One of the hardest parts that Michelle spoke about earlier is breaking down the systemic barriers, and sometimes it's just informing and educating. With policy, one of the things that we were able to announce in our National Apprenticeship Week webinar yesterday is our first DOL National Apprenticeship Week proclamation. And it is an industry proclamation that really recognizes that apprenticeships is a proven career path for individuals that are deserving of the opportunity to earn and learn, and then become great resources at competitive wages in partnership with employer partners. And I think one of the ways that you can grow awareness in local or federal government is access to resources on the apprenticeship.gov website. They're already there for you. So whether it's local, regional, federal, they have templates that you can use. And when those proclamations are signed and you get the key stakeholders to be a part of that process, it says a lot and it goes a long way.
It's always good to have active government officials. I love that. Any other adds you want to add to that from the audience there? That's an anonymous question somehow. We never got.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and Sereyna handled that beautifully. And there are also grant funds, but not everyone knows about it. And we always think too, like applying for grant funds is so difficult and there's too much paperwork, or we don't have a subject matter expert in our organization. So what we can also share with the audience is there are apprenticeship intermediaries, really talented folks in the space that will support getting you onboarded with, start small if you need to start, and go after grant funds, but apprenticeship intermediaries will help support that process as well. And I do think they're needed because organizations don't quite understand how to tap into government right now with apprenticeships. And, there is the movement in more grant dollars. There's not enough, but I think Stephenie, we got to start somewhere with everything. So there is money available, and some of it goes unused because there aren't enough organizations going after the apprenticeship funds that we do actually have available. So it's hard to get more if not all of them are being used, right? And so we all have to come together to say, okay, like let's go after this grant money, because if it is being used and we are putting people to work and we are changing from the ground up, that's how systemic change happens. But without collaboration and without the ecosystem pulling together, then the funds aren't going to be used. We're not going to get more. We're not going to see adoption. So reach out to an apprenticeship intermediary, and we partner with some. We know them. We aren't one. We connect the system. And so we have access to apprenticeship intermediaries and folks like Empower that will actually do the program in partnership with your organization. And Empower as a nonprofit can go after some of the funds.
Love it. Yeah, I'll actually answer some of this question. I know it's really for the panel, but I think there's an opportunity. I was just at SHRM Inclusion and a bunch of SHRM conferences, and I feel like SHRM has a lot of credentials that they're offering, and I think there's a huge opportunity for SHRM to figure out ways to create more credentials alongside NPowers of the world, right? For apprenticeships. Because there's such a labor shortage in so many jobs right now that I feel like SHRM actually could be that like initial intermediary to truly create, a faster movement, even faster movement in this space. So I don't know if anyone from SHRM signed up today. I know a bunch of you all, you're all great people at SHRM, but just an idea from going to SHRM Inclusion in Savannah, Georgia, which is an amazing time a few weeks ago. We have actually a new question from the audience, from Javon here. And so we are at 12:40, so we open up to questions from the audience. And in the last 5 minutes, we start to close out and send some inspiring words. So Javon Moore, thank you for the question. Is there support for underserved, under-resourced apprentices to help them stay employed, like small groups, wraparound services and childcare, housing, transportation, or mentorship and supervision? What have you all seen in the work that you're doing? Whoever would like to go first.
I'll go. Stephenie, do you want to go?
Yeah, I can go first. I think anytime we're looking at implementing a new program or a pipeline of any sorts, we do want to take those things into consideration. So for instance, we've had some conversations about, why is it challenging to get to that audience of people or to keep them employed? And it could be transportation. An example, we have challenges sometimes in the Denver airport because where the airport is located, it is not good for transportation. So what are the programs or what are the things that we can do to try to help people be able to have transportation, to get there, to stay employed, to, kind of keep that going for them. We, in any program that we implement, especially when you think about apprenticeships or job share programs, we always include mentorship. So we not only include it as a part of the program, but we also include it as a part of the company. So we have a company mentorship program where any of our employees at all levels can, sign up to be a mentor or a mentee to somebody, if they feel like they need mentoring in this part of their life, or if they want to mentor someone else. And so I think having mentors and a mentorship program is key, no matter what stage of your career, what stage of the process you're in, if you will. And so, again, at Southwest, we continue that even once they become an employee. So it's really key when you're in that learning phase to have that mentor and that safe space to be able to go to and kind of ask the questions that maybe, they might not feel comfortable asking in a larger setting. And so, again, we build that into any of the programs and what we produce or what we set up. So.
Awesome. Sereyna?
Yes, beautifully said, Stephenie. Javon, thank you for elevating the question. It would depend on if you are a Department of Labor apprentice or a part of a customized organization apprentice. But to what Stephenie shared, it is supposed to be a mentorship program that's built into your apprenticeship. And if you are not involved in a USDOL apprenticeship, I would implore self-advocacy. Don't be afraid to tell your employers what you need for growth. Asking for a mentorship, asking for an executive coach in the workplace doesn't mean that you are inadequate or that you don't have the skills. It just simply means that you want to grow your skills exponentially, right? And you want support in doing that the correct way. So I did just want to make sure that I speak to the self-advocacy in the case that it is a non-DOL apprenticeship. But for USDOL registered apprenticeship programs, like the one Empower has, we are associated with an intermediary that Michelle spoke about earlier. Our intermediary at Southfield Partners are amazing. They provide guidance and support for us to do what we do, for us to serve our populations effectively. But with that intermediary partnership, they also have funding for student support services. And so these support service fundings, typically from intermediaries, are actually provided directly to the apprentice. That's one way. And then the other way, when you have nonprofit organizations like Empower that provide wraparound services, we also have a pool of monies that are set aside for our apprentices and really any of our talent that are in the workplace, demonstrating the need for financial assistance. That is also a part of the financial assistance. We want to make sure that that is an additional resource to help people excel in the workplace.
Love it. Just found out we hit 71 viewers. So thanks everyone for showing up so far. It's been a pretty great turnout. Again, another question though. I'm not sure where this one came in through, but are there global trends on apprenticeship models that have shown promise? How can we in the U.S. learn from these models? Are there anything across the world or universe that we might not know about?
I'll tell you what comes to mind. I just attended a national apprenticeship summit last month in New York, held by PAYA and CareerWise. It was incredible. And one of the global trends that were spoken about in several of the sessions were getting started with apprenticeships earlier. And maybe right now it's very popular in young adults and older adults. However, we've seen a global trend that a lot of corporations are partnering with intermediaries to facilitate high school youth apprenticeships and exposing our younger high schoolers to an earn as you learn model. And within these 2 to 3 year youth apprenticeship models, it typically will have a conversion to full-time offer to those youth apprentices in year 3. And I thought it was really interesting that a lot of our really huge corporations across the globe are signing up to be a part of that specific trend.
I can jump in, and you're right, Sereyna's right. And I think the model that has come over from some European countries, particularly the UK, but actually Switzerland, has the highest rate of apprenticeships per capita of all of the European countries. And they started, to exactly what Sereyna was mentioning, they started in high school and it's required. And so they've actually built it into their economy. And we're so far behind from that. And other European countries took that on. And so one of our partners is Open Classrooms. They're from France. Their corporate is in France, and they've built a model on ensuring that in high school, it's apprenticeships and earn and learn models are embedded in their career paths. And it's just part of the process, in the UK as well. And so there are several organizations that have come from Europe into the US because there aren't US organizations and for-profit organizations that are building a model on registered apprenticeships. Instead, our economy is based on companies using the approved curriculum, or partnering with workforce development organizations like Empower that have them, and then partnering with an organization like ours to be, the wraparound and the employer of record, and being able to support the entire process. And so I think we have a lot to learn actually from our friends over the pond, to bring over to the United States. Because, I think the policy question fits into that beautifully is, without additional funds, without additional awareness, and without it being really embedded into how our economy is flourishing, then how do you create change? And companies, corporate America has to adopt it from the ground up as well. So yeah, I think we still have a ton to learn, but starting somewhere, we have adoption, and we have National Apprenticeship Week.
Yes, and I would say, Sereyna and Michelle, I mean, you guys nailed it beautifully as far as, starting early, and really we have a lot to learn. And I think from the data that we see is that parents and students want to see companies investing in these types of things early on and getting them involved and really planning it out. And when we look at a lot of STEM schools, they're starting earlier and earlier. And so in that planning and that involvement and that engagement piece, so the quicker we can adopt to the theory and to all the key benefits across the board for both parties, I think the better off we'll be. But yes, we still have quite a bit to learn. I agree with that.
Love it. We have one last question from the audience, and then we'll have a final closeout question. Are there specific industries or sectors where apprenticeships have proven to be particularly successful, and what lessons can be drawn from these success stories? We'll have it pop up in the chat here soon too. Anyone? There you go, Sereyna.
Sure. I will begin tackling, and then Stephenie and Michelle, feel free to add additional color and context here. Apprenticeships were birthed in more of the trade sectors. Much of the success you'll see really is in manufacturing type of roles, construction, and things of that sort. I think this question is beautifully slided right after the global trends, because one of the trends is we've seen a growth in industries. And so right now on the U.S. Department of Labor site, there are 20 industries represented right now, and countless occupations of apprenticeships one can take advantage of. I think one of the things that we should think about with apprenticeships is the way that it can be successful is ensuring that we have a talent pipeline to take advantage of the opportunities. And once we have that talent pipeline, in order for it to remain sustainably successful, we need employer partners to open the doors up for those opportunities. There are tons of success stories that I can share. I think one of the largest ones that I'd like to do is one of the largest apprenticeship employer that we have at Empower started about 11 or 12 years ago. And they started out taking 1 or 2 short-term 7-week internships. And fast forward to today, where we now they hire close to 100 apprentices rather than short-term interns to go into 5 different areas of function across their organization. And it's just amazing that success can happen on a very gradual level. And because IT is a newer industry for apprenticeships, you really have to be mission aligned in your partnerships so that both parties are willing to be an innovator. And I'll stop there, but go ahead.
Do you want anything to that, Stephenie or Michelle? All right, so we'll go to the final question here. As leaders in the field, what do you see as the emerging trends in apprenticeships, and how should our organizations prepare for the future of workforce development? We'll start off with Stephenie.
Okay, it's a great question. And, what we do is we just continue to look outside of the traditional groups that you would look at. So look at younger, older, refugees, low income, create that more hybrid, more training for employees. And then once they're employees, ensure that we have the career mobility for them to move about. We always say at Southwest, you control your own journey. So wherever you may start is not where you may finish your journey here at Southwest. And, that's really because we have that career mobility, and they're able to see where I can go and how do I upskill and what's required, and really embrace that. So I think in the future, many companies need to embrace that career mobility aspect. What is the skill gap? How can we provide that? What are the different programs that we can look at? And not hire necessarily, always that entry level role. Sometimes, looking at programs that will allow that mid-level rotational program or even above that. And so our hope is that you would retain that employee and that skill set, right? And then they would continue to build on that. And I know we kind of mentioned this, but waiting to build a pipeline or a program until they're at the college level is too late, or even seniors is too late. The competition for that talent happens very early on. So getting engaged and getting programs established that start off very early on and tell the younger generation what opportunities are available and out there for you. I would say, one of the challenges I have all the time when people see, my name badge on or Southwest, oh, you work at Southwest. Are you a pilot or a flight attendant? Well, there's many more jobs at Southwest than a pilot or a flight attendant. I will tell you that. And it takes a lot of people to run this operation. So, I think awareness is key. And so starting early and really having that mobility once they get here are all key to kind of help develop in the future of your workforce.
Love that. Michelle?
Yeah, I think to add to that, excellent answer, and don't want to repeat, but feel the same sentiment of going outside of the traditional method. So preparing for the workforce of the future and bringing in workforce development. I believe, and what we've built our organization on at UPro Placement is collaboration. Without workforce development and employers and intermediaries and placement organizations working together, like there is enough things that need to be done for us to work together and collaborate versus being competition. And that's why we collaborate with so many organizations, because employers will always need talent. And, we take it as a responsibility in the staffing organization to help educate and consult on the talent that you are bringing into your organization. And so tapping into those non-traditional pathways, and the number isn't going to change, that there are only 34% of our working workforce that have 4-year college degrees. So if we're not building programs and upskilling and pipelines and certifications and apprenticeship programs for the 66% that just don't have access, resources, or don't want to go to college, right? What are those other opportunities that corporations need to stand up and take notice of and collaborate to figure it out. So that's what I think the answer is. And so now we just need to figure it out and do it.
And Sereyna.
Yes, I know we are running on time, so I will be very brief. It is everything that Stephenie and Michelle said, and then some. I would encourage anyone to not be afraid to be a disruptive innovator and be an opportunity change agent to offer apprenticeships to individuals that are deserving of it. It can help diversify your talent workforce, and it certainly helps the generations to come to see some wonderful opportunities.
Love it. Well, that concludes our panel today. So thank you everyone for hopping on. If you want a recording, feel free to message RiseKit or myself. We'll get you the recording. And thank you all for joining us, Sereyna, Michelle, and Stephenie. It's been a lot of fun, and see y'all soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
See y'all.